And welcome everyone to another episode of Orlando Magic Pod Squad. We got Dante Marcatelli, David Steele, we have Jake Chapman, we have George Galante. That's all we could fit in here, Coach. That's all we could. We have 6 more hosts lined up, but this is all we could get in here.
Podcasts with 5 people is usually pretty successful, right? They're usually
there's a big market for that.
There is.
What could go wrong here, right?
What do you think of the new digs? We got a new studio.
This is incredible,
right?
You know, I love the green screen, so can't tell what's really going on.
It's not behind it. We're looking at it.
Yeah.
It's not behind it.
No, it's right.
Right.
You just see the stuff back here. It's just stuff.
That is interesting. Hey, I want to start with this before we get into it. There's a different energy during the off season, right? You're walking around this building and everybody's kind of relaxed. Then you have training camp and it ramps up a little bit. Then there's an energy that George has during the preseason that kind of kicks up a notch.
Yeah, I've noticed that around the building.
You've noticed that, right?
Yeah.
And then there's Mets playoff baseball energy that George has, right? Do you notice that? Like it's his preseason energy and then playoff. Mets playoff.
To be fair, he
baseball.
hasn't seen it before because it's been a while.
It has been a while.
But I hadn't seen that energy before. It's been a little different. It was good. It was terrible a couple days ago. It was really good yesterday.
What, was it rough a couple days ago?
Yeah, and then we're going to find out what it's going to be like pretty soon here.
We're recording this before Game 3.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
And I just want to now. I was fine. I was keeping to myself, I thought, for the most part.
No, he wasn't. We talked about the energy.
You wear that on your sleeve,
You're walking
George.
around the Mets hut all
Now,
day
hold on,
long,
wait.
talking about the series sweep, and here we go, and we're in the middle of a practice, and he's sitting there, got his phone, but he's paying attention to what's going on.
No, it was actually the middle of
Mets
it.
gear?
It was
Oh,
actually
I'm
the middle of
sorry.
the game. It was actually before the game.
It was before the game.
It was before the
That
game
is
in
exactly
San
right.
Antonio.
Yeah, so that makes it worse, but that's okay. It's okay.
I had my AirPod in and I had the phone. The game was on. I mean, it's a 5:00 start.
So if you needed something, that wasn't going to happen.
He was not. Joel is a phone call away.
Right.
Joel is a phone call away.
Fair enough.
Luckily, Joel was in Florida, and I was in San Antonio. And Coach Mosley says to me, "Wow, you are really not locked in at all." And I pulled out my phone. I said, "No, I'm locked in. I'm locked in right
into
now."
this game.
Priorities.
But then,
Absolutely right.
but then all of a sudden, you know, the Mets advanced to the NLCS, and the Dodgers advanced to the NLCS, and we were in the office here, and unprovoked by me, Coach Mosley emerges from his office and he says, "Hey, you know, you're playing the Dodgers. You want a little friendly wager?" Which I did not expect because I didn't know there was any ties with Coach Mosley and the Dodgers.
Okay.
And I said, "Yeah, sure. Well, I'm up for whatever. Like, I'm feeling like we could beat the world right now." What do you know?
See that
And then
energy?
Coach-
The energy. That's the.
But then
methodology
Coach
right
Mosley
there.
mentioned what the wager was, and first he looked at me and he goes, "What was that? Is that a little too rich for you?" Then I had to remind him we were in different tax brackets. And
Fair
then,
enough, fair
but we have a wager going. And I got the good thing is I got the socks going.
Oh,
too.
wow.
Goodness.
Wow.
These Samir,
You are all
Samir, yeah, I'm all in.
You are
These
all
socks, by the way, are major good luck.
Are
Samir
they?
Mehta are one of our training staff members. He gave me these
used to wear
socks
those?
right before. Pulled them right out of his closet.
Game worn?
What I like is your matching pajamas.
Yeah.
That would be good. That would
are
be very
nice.
good.
Do you have any team socks of any
No,
kind?
no team socks.
Just acquiring over the years?
No, I'm not a face painter either. I'm pretty sure George is.
David's a chest. He likes the chest paint.
Your fandom
chest
is there.
painter. Just right on his chest.
Well, I think there will be an excitement for you if you can get to the World Series. I think we can certainly say that. There was an energy in the building today, Coach, right? So this is on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Why don't you let everybody kind of behind the scenes of what happened in practice? You've had a great training camp. You've had a great preseason. And the guys really had a lot of fun today, too.
No, the guys had a great day today. The one thing we've been working on with them is, you know, their level of communication, how they communicate to one another, real time on the floor. So they had an in-depth film session. I have to, you know, preface it with that because of what happened. Like you might think we're not practicing. So we had
Fair
a very
enough.
in-depth.
So good film
No,
session.
we had a great film session. They do a great job. Our coaches do a great job of breaking down the film for them. They discuss it amongst themselves. Exactly the things that they see and how they can communicate better with one another, the things that they're seeing in the real-time scrimmage from yesterday. And then I offered the deal on the table. I said, "Hey, Franz, if you make this half-court shot, you guys can go home." Now, I've been in the league for 18 years and going on 19, I think. I don't know that I've ever seen one shot being made to where, hey, the practice is done. Like there's been a couple times, hey, everybody gets a shot to try it, and maybe that'll happen. Franz stepped up, half court, lined it up, took the jumper. And I'm like, it's going in.
This is going in.
It dropped, and it was like everybody spread it out. We probably had 6 guys bring it in and say, hey, 1, 2, 3 Magic. At the end, everybody else was out of the building.
That's
but
awesome.
there was a lot of energy. But that tells me a lot. These guys have been working their tails off. So it says a lot that they enjoy each other. They had a great time, and everybody's high-fiving Franz once he got back to the locker room, kind of as a thank you.
Easy to say that that's the loudest that this particular building has ever been. I'd say yes.
Yeah,
sure.
there was a level of
It
excitement.
shook. The third floor shook.
Yeah, they were excited. It was, I mean, again, they've worked their tails off. Us not having the New Orleans game and being able to get more practice time and trying to find what to do in the middle of that. So we've had a few scrimmages, which have been fantastic. And so these guys have been working, and so that's who they are. That's what that's what our coaches have pushed them to do, and it's been fantastic with that.
What have the extra challenges been with the New Orleans game getting canceled, and you haven't played a game in 9 or 10 days? You got Philadelphia coming up on Friday.
Yeah, we really looked at it as a unbelievable opportunity, because a lot of these teams are playing the games, but they're not playing the guys major minutes. So I think for us, it's been able to go real live scrimmages, everybody getting the line of conditioning that they need. You talk about our defense and what we're trying to do, and it's putting a challenge to our offense and making our offense that much better, because the sets, what guys are running, what you're trying to execute. And for us to be able to still execute it the way we have been says a lot about both the offense and the defense together. And I keep going back to the communication that these guys are having with one another when they're able to do it against each other every single day. Now, there's some chippiness that's going to keep coming because of that, but that's good. That's exactly what we want.
Are you starting to see kind of new roles emerge from some of your veterans, maybe guys who you brought in or some of the guys who you've developed as far as that communication goes?
Absolutely. I think KCP has been wonderful. Speaking of after yesterday's practice, he brought the huddle in to talk to these guys about the scrimmage, some things that happened during it, the way we have to communicate with one another. And I think those are the big pieces that, what he brings to the table, not just from his experience of playing and, the body of work, but his voice, being able to express that. Paulo and Franz have been tremendous in what they're asking guys to do and how they want to lead, this group, and knowing the responsibility that they're taking on, as the stars of this team.
How have you noticed, you kind of touched on it, Paulo and Franz, they now, Franz going into his 4th year, Paulo into his 3rd year. I've noticed from afar that they have definitely been more vocal. Yeah. They both seem, not that they weren't comfortable before, but they seem to have a new level of comfort.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Absolutely. I think it's when you talk about guys stepping into who they are. I think a lot of times when you step into the league, you're trying to figure out your own space, your own place. How do you fit? How do you fit on a team? And with this group being so close, it's easy to just allow other people to communicate and talk, which we do. But I think now that they've emerged throughout our team as well as the league, as these guys are capable of putting things on their shoulders to get you to a next level, they feel and understand that responsibility. So they're a lot more comfortable. And the guys on the team want them to do that. They need them to do that. And they're okay and comfortable with them speaking up because they've seen the body of work. They know how much these guys care, and they understand how much they want to win and help these guys get to a next level.
I mean, you'd rather have it that way, though, too, right? I mean, that it's coming from them as opposed to you?
Absolutely. I really, truly believe this. And in any great team that goes far, that does, special things, is a player-led team. And then the other side of that is great players make those around them great. I don't know that there's one team that you can say that has done major things, that the star of the team was the one that was leading the pack. And I think we have that with this group of young men. Now we're all pulling in the same direction, wanting the same thing and working together towards it. That's why we keep emphasizing the communication, how you talk to your teammate, what you're expressing, how you're trying to get it done. And those two are doing a tremendous job, along with Jalen, in that regard of what they're trying to communicate to the team about what we're trying to accomplish.
Kentavious was great. He pulled me aside. He said, "My friends call me Kenny. You can call me Kentavious." Can you clear up what you call him? What do you guys call? Is there a nickname? Is it KCP?
Well, for over the years, I've always called him KCP.
Sure.
From when he's been in the league, because that was just what he was known as. And then all of a sudden we said, you can call him Kenny. I think it was you at one of the Magic U, but like, he wants to be called Kenny. I was like, oh, that's a shock to me. So I'm calling him Kenny. Now it'll mix between KCP and Kenny at times.
Sure.
During practices it's Kenny. more than anything, and he responds to all of them.
So should we ask him for on-air purposes which he prefers, or do you have any idea?
I'd probably ask him on air
Yeah,
for on-air purposes. That's probably a good idea.
Mr. Caldwell Pope, I think.
Mr.
Yeah,
Casey.
he might
We
like
need to
that.
call him. Yeah. Mr. Caldwell
His
Pope.
friends call him Kenny, but you want to call
call
him.
If he turns it over, you can call him his whole name, like you do with our kids.
100%, without a doubt, his full name.
Jay, or you can call him RJ. Let me ask you about the competition between players, because I'm watching the team scrimmage in the preseason. J.I. and Paolo are matched up. What does that do for Paolo Banchero that every day he's pounding in there against Jonathan Isaac, and vice versa for J.I.?
I think it is such a beautiful thing to watch. It is making them both so much better. And, you use the phrase, iron sharpens iron, but you talk about J.I., who, ultimately can be a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, going against, an all-star. And every day it's making him better. The shots that he has to get, the efficiency he has to have, the body and the size that both of those guys have going against each other, it's only making both of them just that much better, because I don't know that there's too many other defenders out there like Jonathan Isaac, and the way in which Paolo's able to play and how he moves offensively, I don't know that there's many guys like him. And so I think it's the best of both worlds for this team and for each other.
Coach, you've talked a lot in your time here about consistency in your messaging to the guys. Now, and I, as the father of a 18-month-old, I can attest to the importance of consistency in messaging. Now with expectations and with the playoff trip last year and trying to kind of level up once again, does it change as far as what you're messaging to them, or is there danger to that?
No, I think we talk about embracing the expectations. That's one big thing. But more than anything with this group, as you're trying to develop something that's lasting a long time versus just, a flash in the pan, you want to talk about the process. Are you hitting all the marks of the process of what we're trying to do? The shot quality that we take, how we want to defend. And this started when we first got here. What was sustainable for no matter who we had on the floor? And now, you talk about what Jeff Weltman and his group have brought in with the size, the length, the defensive-minded, the IQ, all those things now placed together with the things that we said were sustainable both offensively and defensively. Now you're building something that lasts a long time, and that's what is more important than just a quick hit and say, hey, we did this for this moment. We want something that these guys can hang their hat on for the next 5 to 10 years.
With the group being almost the same throughout your tenure, do you have to go back, like say in the offseason, kind of recap what you've said?
Yeah.
And make sure that like you're not, or either staying consistent with what you said, which you have to do with certain things, or not doubling down on something that maybe you're like, all right, well, I can't pull that card again. I gotta try a new one.
It's interesting, with this group, they get tired of that same voice or the same statement, and so that's why you focus on the process of things more than you focus on just a word that you said in that moment. And with us, I'll just take the defense for example. We want to protect the rim. We want to defend without fouling. We want to apply pressure. We want to contest all shots. That's going to be who we are no matter what. So you find different ways to say it. You find different examples to say it in. Now offensively, we want to attack the paint. We've led the league, top 5 in free throw attempts per game. You want to be able to knock down feet set threes. Those are the things we're going to constantly say because it's part of who we are. It's just different ways to say it is very important, but it's still part of the process of what we're trying to accomplish.
Oh, it's interesting, and you know this, and we've talked about this. You know it better than anyone. 47 games last year. You don't start this year at 47, right? Now you're not going to sneak up on anybody. Everybody knows who you are, playoff team, and all that. So, for it to be a successful season, to get back to the playoffs, to maybe potentially host a first round, what in your mind needs to happen? What are you stressing to this group right now?
It's a mindset shift. I think it goes from thinking you can to believing you are. And I think that's a big portion for this group is that, you think you can get there to playoffs. Like you talk about the year we won 34 games. It was close to the play-in. We think we can get there. Then you make the playoffs and you're like, okay, we belong here. And now it's like we belong here, but just know the fact that we know we belong in this situation. Other teams know that too. And so your mindset shift has to go from trying to prove that you're belonging there to we are here in this moment, and now teams are coming and recognizing that. So we have to know you can't take any game lightly. And now we saw that in the details of the difference between home court and, not having home court. And those are the games in the middle of the season that you may be tired, you may be exhausted, it may be a back-to-back, but that's an important game for you to get. And that's the mindset shift that you have to have that changes with this group.
George mentioned just a minute ago continuity with regard to players, the coaching staff as well.
Yeah.
Watching you coach the team, it's been interesting for us observing the first year with a young group. I felt like you were really building relationships with people, and now you coach them a little differently. Talk about how you've adjusted the way you coach the guys from year 1 to now year 4.
Well, just coming in, you don't really know all the guys, so you have to build the relationships. And ultimately, we're in the relationship business, and so they have to understand how much we care about them as people first and foremost. And I don't think that will ever change, no matter what year it is. But now that we've had the same group for so long, they already know how much we care. And so now it's about how do you understand what we're trying to accomplish? Because everything I say now, it's not a personal thing. It's because we have a process in place of what we're trying to accomplish. And once they can see that, knowing that there's a care factor in the background, now it's like, okay, I know that this is not a personal thing. This is what we need to do to accomplish the goals that we set forth for ourselves. So now it is more of, I wouldn't say hands off, but there's a level of empowerment that we've given to our coaches to be able to communicate to these guys what it is they need to do, and then the other level of empowerment to the players. When they've said what they want to do and how they want to establish doing it, now it's about them taking ownership in all of it and then kind of stepping out of the way, because this is their journey and moving into something great, and they have to be able to experience that. If you have someone that's constantly talking over them, not allowing them to have a voice, it doesn't allow them to feel what it is to be a great team, because now it's me saying it versus them feeling and experiencing it like they did the playoffs.
What did you learn about your team in the postseason last year?
A lot. I think there were a ton of lessons. You talk about the resiliency that we talked about that they had all year. You're never out of a game, and that was shown throughout the year of how much we fought till that final buzzer went off. Then you go into the playoffs, going to Cleveland, down 2 games, and most teams were, most people are counting you out, and then it goes back to that resiliency that this is not a group that's going to quit. They're competitive. They're pulled together. There was never a moment of pointing fingers or we're not there. There's a level of belief to this group of how good they can be. I think that showed up a lot, and then I think now with the words of Franz and Paolo and Jalen and these guys, there's a want factor that you can feel. They want more, and I think that's what was shown in that series. Like, they want more, and now they just had to go through the experience of 7 games and a playoff series to realize how do you get the things that you want and the work that you have to put in.
How about your summer, Jamahl? You had another summer with USA Basketball.
Yeah.
Tell everybody that doesn't get to experience that, which is 99%
Right.
of us.
Yeah.
How is that experience? What is it like for you? What does it do to you to be around not only those players but those other your peers too?
I mean, I always talk about how grateful I am for it, and like you said, it's not a lot of people get to do that. So it's a blessing to be able to do that and to be around those coaches. First, it's the players that you really get to see live, real time, and their work ethic and how focused they were in the camp. Just what they were trying to have their focus and attention towards is just watching Steph, watching LeBron, watching KD, watching Book. These guys were all focused on something bigger than them, which was great to see, but then you see the work ethic behind it. And then for the coaches, it's interesting to see the level of, one, expertise and confidence, but in the same time, a level of humility and vulnerability. And it's sharing information, not caring where it comes from, but we're trying to solve something for all of us.
How much information, though, is everybody willing to share, right? Because, Eric Spoelstra or Steve Kerr, those guys maybe don't, or Ty Lue. Mm-hmm. How open do you guys truly get? Or is it just like, listen, we're friends. I'm going to help you. You're going to help me.
Yeah, I think
I hold stuff back from Dante all the time.
Yeah, and I could see why. I mean, I could see why you would. I mean, he might use it on the air. He might take it from me. I completely understood.
You got to be guarded a little bit.
It's interesting for me, and with that group of coaches, I think there's just such a level of confidence in what they've done that we're all willing to share information. And at the end of the day, you are as good a coach as your best players tend to be.
Right.
And I think they all understand and know that, and that the situations you're putting them in to be successful, we get that. And so creating these friendships with these guys, you do share a ton of information. And when it's all said and done, did you prepare your team the best way that you possibly could? And I think that's what we all hang our hats on when it comes to that. There are no secrets in this game.
Right, well,
I
right.
mean, with everything going on, you realize there aren't many secrets. It's just, have you prepared your team to the best of your ability to be in a situation to be successful? And I think that's what we all realize. Like, there's nothing new under the sun when it comes to this.
Isn't it your favorite when there's a scout sitting somewhere by and they're trying to lean in and hear Jamahl or the other coaches call and then they don't hear it and they're kind of like peeking up and Jamahl look right or the other coach look right at me like, that's flop 3, whatever. Like whatever they call it. Like just write it down. This guy's gonna swing this way. He's gonna. It's hilarious.
Because
but they all know.
They all know. Like,
right,
if you do your research, you do your scouting, you have somebody at every game. You're writing down the call. You're writing down when I yell out a play, and sometimes I'll tell you, hey, this is what's coming. And now, if you've done your job, and which we are in the game of relationships and development and helping guys be successful. Well, if we've developed our players the right way, then they should be able to make the read with however someone's defending them. Right. That means we've done our job. And the guys are doing their job because they understand exactly how they're being played, and that's the level that this group is moving to.
And calling a play for Steph Curry doesn't exactly apply to 29 other teams.
True. Correct.
That's true.
Without a shadow of a doubt. Yes.
That's a good point. Coach, you probably don't know this, but all NBA players think they should be out there for 48 minutes, right?
Yes.
Every player thinks they should play the whole game, right? That's happened
Without a doubt.
Since the beginning of time.
Yes.
But you've got an incredibly deep team, and you've got unbelievable position battles, which I think is a great thing for a coach to have. Anthony Black's going to want to play. Jet Howard. You have Goga. You have Tristan, right? I mean, this is
keep going.
And you get right. You get Corey Joseph is a proven veteran, right? You've got all these guys. Caleb, right? Maybe this feels like this is his turn.
Yep.
How are you viewing that? Will it reveal itself to you as you go? Do you have a plan going in? Obviously you do, but what is your approach?
Well, we have a plan going in, and plans always change.
Sure.
Because obviously certain things happen throughout the year. Injury happens, then certain guys get to step in. Some guys performing at a high level, someone's not in those moments. And so we evaluate it that way, but you do have a plan to say, okay, who has earned these minutes? And that's how we'll start. What we're doing this year, and the guys that have earned it will play. And then as the year goes on, things happen throughout it. But what has happened, and you guys mentioned it early with Paolo and Franz, they've emerged as here's what's happening and here's how we have to rely on you too. And so with that being said, the people that are best fit around those two, as well as Jalen and Wendell and now Kenny, is how does that look as the year goes on? And it's going to change over time because teams are going to start to pick things up, and we got to find different adjustments to make. But I remember hearing Spo say in a press conference, middle of the year, he was talking about, how is your somebody asked him about his rotation, and it changes all the time because of the scenarios within the year. It's and that's going to be ongoing for us. You'd like to have the certain stability of going on, but the reality is it changes throughout the year, and these guys have been accepting of that because of the roles that they've been given and responsibilities that they have to this team.
The team has been flying under the radar, I would say, the last couple of years. You're on the radar now. How does that change things with a young team, too, that now has expectations? How do you and the ball players handle that?
I think we talk about it openly. You realize that you don't want to ride the wave of, hey, you were good tonight, you struggled last night, you got to go here. You just stay the same. And it goes back to what we were saying earlier about the process of things. Are we following the process that makes us a good team? And no matter what that looks like and how teams come out to prepare for us, we have to keep focusing on the way we're going about our business and challenging ourselves. Because we're going to see the East is tough this year. and then we go out west, early on. So we've got to make sure that we're preparing ourselves in that right way. So it's more of, that goes back to the mindset piece, that you're not trying to show up. You have to say, okay, we are here and we belong in this space, but you still have to prove it every night.
This will be the last thing for me. I just wanted to ask you about Jett Howard and the approach you've seen, just going back to his rookie season, the attitude he brought, sort of knowing that he was going to get his opportunity eventually, and then his offseason and the preseason so far.
I mean, he's been fantastic. He was in the gym all summer, and I think we saw that throughout the summer league. His ability to play in Osceola with that group and get real games at a faster pace usually than the NBA is, because those guys are fighting and scrapping and playing a different style of basketball. But it was great for that game to speed up for him there. And what we've seen for him during training camp is just there's a maturity. Tate Carter, who works with him the most, he's in the gym early. He stays late. He comes in on days off. He's working both sides of the ball, which I think is so important for him to step into that realm. Like, he's working on his defensive closeouts. He's working on how to guard the pick and roll, how to guard pin downs. He's watching Kenny. He's watching Gary, how they guard, what they do. So his growth has been fantastic. And I just told him, we actually had a conversation yesterday about, like, the future. And understanding that I want that hunger, you want that desire, you want that fight to be in it and never lose that. I want you to be mad when you're not in games, because that's the desire and the fight that you want to keep and your guys to have, because that keeps that competitive nature going every single day in camp.
Well, last thing, Coach, you've got a couple of roster spots open. You've got some two-way spots. You don't know, there might be guys on this roster now that could make it. You might look elsewhere. If you do have the opportunity to bring one of these guys on the roster, you've done it before. What is that like when you get to tell a guy that they made an NBA roster?
You always go back to guys' journeys, and for a guy to say he was with Osceola, he was a two-way, and then he's a roster spot, there's no better feeling for that, because guys that's what they want. They want to say they made it, they got an NBA contract, and for us to be able to tell these guys that it's rewarding, again, because like I said, we are in the relationship business. And to help someone start their journey that way is always a great thing.
Well, that's fantastic, and I guess we have another preseason game on Friday.
Yep.
We've got a couple of Mets games in between now and then.
It's gonna be good.
Hopefully just 3.
And I think what we've learned more than anything is
3 games.
The Dodgers are in that series too, right?
they are in that.
It could just be.
All I hear is
I
Mets.
think what we've learned is Joel is a call away. I think is what we've learned.
Joel is a phone call away.
Hey, listen, I'm going to tell you right now, at 5 o'clock on Friday, I know we play Philly. What time we play Philly? 7?
7.
You might not get anything out of me for the first half of the game.
He's going to be quiet because it's going to be probably a blow up.
You better call your buddy Dave Roberts
so, too.
today.
No, I'm not going to.
You're not gonna
I'm
bother
not going to bother him.
You're friends with Dave, though, right? You do know him.
Yeah,
Yes, that's right.
I do. Yes.
That's
I'd
where
like to
this
hear from you. Pretty
That's
good.
where it all
stems
stems
from, by
That's
the way.
where it
And
all
I didn't
stems.
know it. I didn't know it
I
until
Until-
the matchup, and then I was.
Well, like you said, it had been a while.
It has been a while.
Because then, if the Brewers, it would have been like, okay,
Right.
Milwaukee,
Right.
I could have gone there.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Where were you in Milwaukee?
Yeah, I
You
just
were a pitch away.
kind of quiet.
I know.
Kind of quiet.
You spent time in Cleveland, no love for the Guardians?
There's love there.
All right.
I mean,
You
you're from,
called
I
them
know
the-
you're from Cleveland,
Yeah,
so that's
I
why
know, I
you
talk
go
about
there.
it a lot.
Yeah, I know.
You
It's
call
okay.
them the Guardians?
Speaking about not being there for a while. But hopefully that's
I wasn't saying anything. You guys let you.
We all
guys
root
go
for
there.
whoever plays the Yankees. We all root for them. Coach, this is great. We are excited. I know you feel the buzz in town. Right?
Absolutely.
Nationally, people are excited about what's happening here. That stems from the job that you've done and what you're building here, and it's awesome. We can't wait to get started.
I appreciate
Good luck
it
this year.
Thank you. I
absolutely.
appreciate you all. Thank you.
That'll do it for another episode of Magic Pod Squad.